Thank you, Kevin. It is now my pleasure to call to the podium our Eagle Scout speaker, Andrew Adam of Troop 88 in Mechanicsburg. He's here this evening to share with us some remarks about his scouting experience. Andrew?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and honored guests. My name is Andrew Adam, and I'm an Eagle Scout from Troop 88 in Mechanicsburg. I'm very honored and humbled to have been chosen to speak to you this evening about my Eagle Project and Award. I've been asked to talk to you and tell you about what I learned from my experiences. I could write a novel, but I've been asked to keep this under 10 minutes, so I'm going to do my very best. Before I start my thoughts on leadership, I'd like to both recognize and thank my Scout leaders who have been there to guide me and direct me throughout my journey. They juggle their work, they juggle their families, and they juggle many other commitments to help us young people through the process of becoming Eagles. So I'd like to publicly thank all my leaders, and in fact, all the leaders in this room for their time and sacrifice to the program. I'd also like to thank any other members in the audience who have been part of my project and part of my experience. I'd like to especially thank my family because they've been with me through the whole entire journey and they know all the time and dedication I put in, so thank you all very much. Now on to the leadership part. My brother and I both like Civil War history, and we both participate in reenactments from time to time as Union drummers. Drummers played a very critical role in the way the Army communicated and functioned. We were driving around Gettysburg one day, and my brother noticed that there were no monuments to the drummers or the musicians on the battlefield. He gave me the idea that would later become my Eagle Project. My project is called Unity Park. Unity Park is located in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, and is the first memorial in the United States dedicated to American musicians and young people who sacrificed and endured so much for our country. I started putting ideas together on paper for my project. 2 pathways from the north and 2 from the south would come together to form a unity center in the middle where a drummer boy statue would stand. The statue would be sculpted and cast in the north, and the pedestal would be mined and fabricated in the south. There would be 4 unity benches in the park, and like the statue, the ends would be manufactured in the north while the seating material was made in the south, so when you would sit down, you'd be sitting in unity. My scout troop and friends helped me plant 36 bushes, 1 for each state that was in the Union at the end of the Civil War. There are 3 flags that fly over Unity Park. The one in the middle is the current United States flag, while on the sides there are flags of the Union during the Civil War and a flag of the Confederate government. Finally, an eagle sits on top of the American flag, representing the United States of America and also serving as a small reminder of our work as Eagles. When I started this project, I saw the need to tell the story of the critical communications role that the drummer and bugler played in the Army. In the age of new technology and social media, the musicians were the cell phones, texting, and public address system of their time. Both armies could not have functioned without them. As I did research and got further into the project, I learned that many of these musicians were very young and very determined to help their country. Many were as young as 12, and almost 1/5 of both armies were 18 and under. Many gave their lives for what they believed in. This inspired me, and I felt that their story needed to be told. The battlefields are full of statues of generals and famous people, but no one ever told the story of the little guy, the musician, and his important role in America as well. As I got further into the project and learned even more, I read letters and diaries that detailed stories of how when the music was playing, the fighting stopped. That inspired me the most. Our country has had its fair share of division over the last few years. So the music inspires unity concept really resonated with me, and I decided to develop that theme and name my project Unity Park. What did I learn about leadership from my project? I think this was the part in the packet that was probably the most broadest question, but here's where my book could have definitely been an encyclopedia set. I learned a lot of great things, and I feel that I have grown and developed in so many ways. I've likely learned more from my project that I inevitably will from getting a diploma, because I actually worked with a group of very diverse people to solve the problems and put the project together. The first lesson I learned is to commit to something and put your best effort into it. From basically the start of the project, I had to make choices based on the things I believed in and how I wanted this project to unfold. When I first started working on the project, I had plans to do a simple granite statue and base. Both were relatively affordable, but when I went to sign the contract, I learned that the statue would be coming from another country. That didn't seem to make a lot of sense to me. This is a Boy Scouts of America project being done on the Civil War, and it would be here in America. So it didn't make sense for me to get a statue from another country. What I found out is that to have it made here in America would cost more money, and that was going to mean more time and more work. I had to make the decision. Do I get the project done quickly and inexpensively, or do I put the extra effort in and put extra time in to make it here in America? I decided to put that extra effort and time in and have it made here in America. This is probably one of the best decisions I've made in my life this far. In fact, that became a theme in my project, and I'm proud to say that everything in my park was made in America, by Americans, and with American materials. I think the second lesson I learned was how you handle your plan B. Plan A is usually the first choice, and it's the paper on plan that looks good for the boss because everything goes according to plan. But in reality, plans B, plan C, and sometimes even plans D and E seem to be the way things work out in the real world. It's at the plan B point where the real test of character comes in. Do I sink or do I swim? Do I wallow in self-pity, or do I shift gears and make the best of the situation? I think I figured out from this project that being successful in life is all about learning how to pivot and manage the roadblocks. Plan B is usually the norm. My Plan B moment happened about 5 to 6 months into my project. Initially, I was asked by a Harrisburg city official to bring this project to Harrisburg. After months of meetings and applying for permits, my project fell in the middle of a dispute between the mayor and the National Civil War Museum. It's quite the experience. After months of meetings and applying for numerous permits, my project fell in the middle of a dispute, after all the work and effort by myself and others, it became apparent to me that I would need to find another location. I had a choice to sit around and feel sorry for myself and be angry, or I had a choice to find another location. Tenacity became my new favorite word, and has become a trait that I developed very well. Fortunately for me, that other location opened up in Gettysburg and became available and worked out very well. In the long run, the site in Gettysburg was a far better location for the park. The location actually turned out to be of historical importance to the project. So I think the lesson learned in life is to have a lot of faith in the Plan Bs. There is likely a reason why everything works out the way it does. I did not realize it at the time, but I certainly do now. I am so grateful to have fallen and skinned my knees with so many supportive leaders around to help me through it. Another thing I learned about leadership for my project is that a good leader surrounds himself with even smarter and better people than himself. I was extremely lucky to benefit from the leadership and advice of so many in my project. At the time, I did not know how to pour concrete, I did not know how to calculate the weight for a monument, and I certainly did not know how to weld bench ends together. I learned to reach out to others who are experts in their fields and assemble a team of people that are willing to help me achieve this goal. I learned that you do not have to be an expert at everything. You just have to be willing to talk to the experts and take advice from them. Everyone here in this room is really good at something. Once you recognize what you're good at, you will go miles in life. But once you recognize how to involve people and let them use their talents on a project, you set yourself up for infinite success. Assemble good people, respect them, and treat them well. The end result was really amazing, and I learned a lot from it. I think the most important thing I learned about leadership is that people are your most important resource. Very often I am asked, what did you like best about your project? Hands down, the answer is always the people that I worked with. In creating Unity Park and in wanting to make the effort something that truly represented our country, I reached out to work with all of America. I worked with both the North and the South, Republicans and Democrats, and I did get the Republicans and Democrats to agree on something. Blacks and whites, blue-collar and white-collar workers, the rich and the poor, and people of all religions. I didn't ask where they went to church on Sunday. I did not look at the color of their skin, and I did not ask what political party they are with. In many cases, I stepped way out of my comfort zone to talk to and involve people I had never met and people that I did not have too much in common with. Some really amazing things happen when you start looking at similarities and what's the same about people and not look at how they're different. I learned that stereotypes are just that, stereotypes. I learned that most people in this country are really good, hardworking people who just want to do the best they can with their lives. Most people are very generous, giving people who love their country and want to see it succeed. Although I went through several trials with my project, the friendships and contacts I made more than made up for them. I did not know the majority of the people I worked with before I started my project. They were perfect strangers. And I'm so happy to say that I have developed lifelong friendships with most of them. I am more than happy to say that I have brought so many different people together. For that, I feel very lucky and truly blessed. In concluding my thoughts on leadership in this project, I started this project back in 2013. It seemed that for most of the time I was working on the project, there was some type of division happening in our country. There was racial tension with the police and shootings that occurred throughout our country. Just last year, there was a lot of tension over Confederate battle flags and symbols of slavery. Here we stand today in 2016, and once again, division is at the forefront of our daily news, this time of a political nature. We once again find ourselves as a country having to piece together after some bitter disputes. The Civil War provides a harsh reminder to us all about the constant need to strive for unity in our country. One only needs to look at the cemetery down the street from Unity Park to be reminded of what happens when our country cannot agree with one another and when we allow division to take hold. Like the young soldiers that stood up for what they believed in, I think that the time has come for us young men to unite and do the same. We are at a very critical time in our country. Taking a knee seems to be the popular in the news right now. But I think for those of us here who have made it to the rank of Eagle, this is our time to stand up for what we respect and what we believe in. We are student leaders right now, but in a short period of time, we will be the future leaders in our country. We are the ones who set the example for others to follow. Earning the rank of Eagle has set us all up to do a lot of good in our country and in the world. America is better united, not divided. As a leader, look for the similarities, don't look for the differences. Finally, I've learned that if you do the right things for the right reason and surround yourself with the right people, the right result will always come about. My final message to you is a simple one, and it is the message that I've carried through the project and would like all of you to remember and take home with you. You can make a difference in America. Unity begins with you. Thank you.
Stay there.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. By the way, my whole life is a plan B, so I know what you're talking about. Thank you for sharing your remarks, and as a token of our appreciation, we want to present you this framed photograph called Eagle Scout Court of Honor, and it is signed by the artist Joseph Satari, so please enjoy that.
Thank you, sir.